Hi everyone, it's Kelsey from the blog westmanacademyhomeschool.com, and today I wanted to share with you 3 meals from my 4-week meal plan winter edition. I love winter in the fact that I can make lots of soups, warm meals in the oven, utilize the warmth into my home. And what I really love about these recipes and this whole 4-week meal plan is it's gluten-free or gluten-free adaptable. I'm starting off by making a homemade baked potato soup. I like cooking my bacon in the oven. My husband prefers it that way. He thinks it's crispier. So I'm just laying bacon strips on a parchment covered baking sheet, and I'm going to bake those for 16 minutes total at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I turn the pan around after 8 minutes. After dicing a white onion, I'm also going to be mincing my own garlic. I have butter melting in a Dutch oven on the stove, and I'm just going to be sauteing the onion and garlic until it's soft and see-through and very fragrant. After I have peeled and diced the potatoes, I am just taking my cornstarch and mixing it in with my chicken broth. I can't use flour because my daughter has celiac disease, so I use cornstarch to thicken everything. And I'm going to add in my diced potatoes. Let those boil and soften, that way I can mash them in a little bit. I'm going to be using a teaspoon of salt. The reason you see me doing 2 is because I have a ½ teaspoon measuring spoon in my salt at all times. I'm also going to add freshly ground pepper. And then once I have stirred in the seasonings, I'm going to shred my cheese and add my cheese to the soup as well. This just thickens it, adds more flavor and creaminess. And then I'm going to be taking out the bacon. Once the bacon has cooled a little bit, I'm just going to chop it and add it into the soup as well. To add creaminess and delicious flavor to this soup, I'm adding roughly 1 cup of sour cream, stirring that in so that it melts. And I did use roughly 2 cups of Colby Jack cheese that was shredded. You can add your diced green onion to the soup directly or sprinkle it on top. I like to do both for added flavor. Although I did not show it, I also added 2 cups of heavy cream. You can add milk, but the cream really just adds a nice creamy flavor. I take my potato masher, and I don't mash all of the potatoes. You don't want it to be mashed potatoes in the soup, but having some of the potatoes mashed does add thickness and creates a very tasteful texture, if you will. The next meal that I am going to be working on is chicken enchiladas. And I know that these are just so delicious year-round, but there's something about nice, warm enchiladas in the wintertime. I'm going to be taking these pepperoncini peppers, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and I'm going to be dicing them up. I did soften up my cream cheese in the microwave for roughly 30 seconds. I'm also going to be adding a can of green chilies, but if your family does not like spice or your kids don't, you can definitely just do half a can of green chilies and skip the pepperoncini peppers. I am doing 2 bowls, one for my daughter who is gluten-free, which I did neglect to put the peppers in, so I will use a little bit of hers from her bowl for my son as well. So I just cooked the chicken in a crock pot with seasoning. I did this the night before, but this recipe is so much better if you use the shredded chicken directly from the crock pot. I have a homemade taco seasoning as well to go with, I believe it's in my roast recipe from my 28-day meal plan, but I did that same taco seasoning on the taco meat while it was in the crock pot. My kids don't seem to mind the green chilies in their enchiladas. I always use it and they never complain about it being spicy. For my husband and I's, and partially my son, I kind of squeezed him some enchiladas at the end. I did add some of the pepperoncini juice to add a little bit of flavor. Not so much spice, more just flavor. I'm doing my daughter's gluten-free tortillas first. That way my hands aren't contaminated. And all you do is take this mixture, place it in the tortillas, wrap it up. I also have in the 28-day meal plan a recipe that goes along with this for homemade enchilada sauce. So that is what I did, and then I just top it with shredded cheese. Then you're going to want to add the cheese, some tin foil on top, and I like to bake mine at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for around 45 minutes. I actually found that this recipe is so much better if you use the tinier tortillas. You can stuff a lot more of the filling in and not have so much tortilla. The last meal that I am showing you is homemade chicken noodle soup. I am also going to be showing you how to make homemade noodles with gluten-free flour and regular flour. So to make this soup, I'm starting off by cooking my vegetables first because homemade noodles don't take very long to cook once they're actually ready to go. I am starting with my vegetables to ensure that they get done. I have chopped up carrots, celery, and green onion, and I'm actually going to steam cook them. I find that vegetables cook quicker when they are steamed versus cooking in the soup. In a Dutch oven, I am just adding 6 cups of chicken broth. Homemade chicken broth is going to be the most nutritious and best, but of course you can use store-bought. I'm then going to season my soup. I am using 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of thyme, and 1/2 teaspoon of rosemary. I'm also going to be adding in a dash of garlic salt and celery salt. While my soup is simmering on the stove, I'm going to be making my homemade noodles. Again, because my daughter has celiac disease, I'm going to be doing my gluten-free noodles first. I started off by whisking 1 egg, adding in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, maybe a little bit less, and 1 cup of flour. I found that I needed an additional egg, so I ended up adding that once I started to press and push and get my noodles mixed by hand. For the all-purpose flour or einkorn flour, you're going to want to use 4 eggs and 3 cups of unbleached flour with 1 teaspoon of salt. For most of my homemade noodles, I do use my KitchenAid attachment, but for homemade chicken noodle soup, I just make it the way my mom did. This is her recipe, and I just roll it out as thin as it can be. The noodles will puff up, so just know that your noodles will get thick once they are cooked. So all I am doing is removing those vegetables. Of course, I have 2 different soups happening because my daughter, her noodles will be in one and our noodles will be in the other. So I am taking the water that I used to steam the vegetables and I'm just creating the soup in that for her. The noodles will take about 2 minutes to cook, so it doesn't take long. I just rolled the noodles out as thin as I could and just cut it with a knife. Again, for this recipe, although I don't show it, you are going to want to mix 4 eggs, 3 cups of unbleached flour, and 1 tablespoon of salt. These recipes can be found in my winter 4-week meal plan, 28 meals, both gluten-free and gluten-free adaptable for only $5. I will have those linked down below. Again, thank you so much for watching. I make videos on homeschool, homemaking, and creating a wholesome home.